Hello YouTube, my name is DS and welcome to kind of a new series on this channel where we look into kind of franchises and all certain things into Smash Brothers and wondering what if this series had this treatment, or what if this happened to this series. And obviously with the announcements of Pokemon Generation 8 just happening the other day with Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, honestly I wasn't too big of a fan of the designs of the starters at first, but now I'm really come around to Scorbunny and Sobble. The Grookey, I think it's the name of the grass starter, is still a little bit out there, but what you gonna do? We'll have to wait and see for the rest of the evolutions and the rest of everything else. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know where I was gonna go with that. But anyway, this video is about what would happen, or what are my picks, what I think would happen if Super Smash Brothers gave the Generation 1 treatment to every single Pokemon generation in terms of playable Pokemon or playable characters. Now, the treatment by that obviously is about the treatment of the characters that get playable, how many Pokemon Generation 1 actually has. If we look into the numbers of the Pokemon in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, we have Pikachu, Pichu, Squirtle, Ivysaur, Charizard, Lucario, Mewtwo, Incineroar, and Greninja. That's 9 characters. 9 characters. Now, let's look at those 9. How many of them are actually Gen 1 Pokemon? You have Pikachu, Mewtwo, and the 3 starters from Kanto in Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard. So Generation 1, one generation out of 7 in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has 5 of the 9 playable characters. One generation. Why did I say generations? One generation. With generations 2 have 4, 6, and 7, the other 4, having one playable character a pop, and even Generation 2 kind of being a cheating one, because to be completely honest, if Echo Fighters were a thing back in Melee, Pichu would have been called an Echo Fighter. But anyway, looking at that, I summarized and divided the Pokemon of the 5 Pokemon from Generation 1 into the following categories. You have the 2 mascot Pokemon, which are the Pikachu and Jigglypuff, 2 mascots for the generation basically, which can follow the same rules as Generation 1 or not. I only have Generation 2 actually follow that scenario of 2 Pokemon in that mascot being the cute Pokemon from that generation. Actually, yeah, that's the only time. The 3 starters with one first form of a Pokemon, the second stage evolutionary form, and finally the full evolved Pokemon, and the mascot legendary, which for Generation 1 is Mewtwo. So let's get started off first with the Pokemon trainer. Before we move on to every Pokemon and all that stuff, we're gonna go move and look and see which Pokemon trainer should be, because obviously this would require a rename for the Pokemon trainer. Pokemon trainer could not just be Pokemon trainer if we're gonna have 6 more Pokemon trainers alongside it. You're not gonna call Pokemon Trainer 1 and then from Gen 2 call Pokemon Trainer 2. That's just dumb. It doesn't sound well, and I don't particularly like it, and I don't think a lot of people would particularly care for it either. So I went with what can we call, or what can we have is the playable character, which one would be the main front runner of all the different types of Pokemon trainers that we've had over the years, and what should be the name of the Pokemon trainer in the front row. And up until I was making this, I didn't realize something, and I'm gonna say that at the end, and yeah, I'm gonna wait. First things first, the main character, the Pokemon trainer for Generation 1, it had to be Red. Red would obviously be the main trainer for Generation 1. For Pokemon trainer would be, like it is right now, the default character would be Red, with Leaf being the second choice. I also had 4 more costumes that could be in, and 2 of them I don't understand why they're not in, especially the first one, which would be Blue and Misty. I put in Blue and Misty because, well, Blue was the rival from Generation 1. He's one of the most popular characters in Pokemon. He keeps reappearing in Pokemon. And Misty because I wanted to also have another second female playable character, or female trainer, to not just be the same of like one guy and then it's Leaf again with a new costume. But Misty makes sense. She was in the anime. She was a popular companion for Ash in the Pokemon anime. So yeah, I think she would work fine. And then I obviously had to find out to close off Generation 1's costumes, Chase and Claire, which, if you don't know, they are the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee trainers. I also did not know, I'm gonna be completely honest. I literally found that out today when I was writing the main trainers for each generation. Then for Generation 2, I would have the main trainer be Ethan, and the secondary one being Lyra. If you don't know, these are the main trainers from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Ethan being Golds, basically from Generation 2, full-blown Generation 2, and Lyra being the more recent redesign of the female version. Silver would obviously be the third costume, and the fourth costume actually goes to Chris, which was, I believe, the female protagonist introduced in Pokemon Crystal. I think Gold and Silver did not have, you could not choose a gender, but then you could in Crystal, where they introduced Chris as a playable character. Lyra is the updated design of her, so I thought, why not have that? That would be cool, and then every one of these would have 2 costumes. Then Generation 3, the main one obviously should be May. Everybody knows May. She's everybody's favorite, I guess, from Generation 3. She was in the anime. She was also popular then. She makes sense to have. Then Brandon being the secondary is obviously, if he's not going to be the main, he's going to be the secondary. And then for costumes, I can only think of 2, and maybe somebody can help me out in female characters from Generation 3 that could be playable for playable costumes, because I can only think of 2, and I can only, without going into like the champions, I only actually include the champion 1 time, I guess, no, 2 times. And is because and it's the next 2 generation actually. Yeah, no, technically speaking 3, but then it's like, I don't know, it could include Steven here, but then I would have to include Lance in Generation 2, and it's like, I don't know how many other female, because I was gonna try to stay balanced, like this amount of females ones and this amount of male ones, like 4-4, and not have too many, or like exact same number for both sides. So I don't know exactly, so but I only had for Generation 3 Wally and Norman. I don't think there's a lot of female characters from Generation 3 that are popular. I did remember, I was gonna look it up and I forgot, that girl from the Delta episode in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I don't remember her name, and I was gonna look for it and I couldn't find it, and I look ridiculous. But anyway, that would be the Generation 3. For Generation 4, same thing as Generation 3. It's obvious who is the main character. It would be Dawn, again, anime, she's popular, everybody likes her, makes sense, it's the better design of the 2, and then you have Lucas as the second one, makes perfect sense, I think. Then the other 2 designs that I had would be Barry and Cynthia, Barry being a rival, Cynthia being a very one of the most popular champions from Pokemon. Then left costumes to be up for 2 for each, and I think that designs from Platinum could make it in, because the default ones could be from Diamond and Pearl. Then for Generation 5 would be Hilda and Herbert, which I thought their names were actually black and white, apparently not. And then the costumes would be Sharon, Bianca, or Sharon, Bianca, Huey, Nate, and Rose, or Rosa, which are the names of the 2 protagonists from Black and White 2. That's Nate and Rosa. Sharon and Bianca are your 2 rivals in Gen 5 in Black and White 1, and then Huey is your best friend / rival from Black and White 2. And then the final costume will be Iris, which was a gym leader in Black and White. No. Yes, was she a gym leader? I think she was a gym leader in one of the games, and then the other one you had a different one, or she was the trend. I don't remember exactly. But then in Black and White 2, she was the Pokemon League champion. So, and she was popular. She was again a companion in the anime, so it could work. Then for Generation 6, once again, it would be the female one, the female trainer Serena, to be the main character, with Calum being the secondary one. Same reasons as Dawn and May and Iris, I guess, to be Serena. She was in the anime. She is also, I think, the better design. Then Terra, Shauna, and Tierno, which are your friends from Generation 4, alongside the character that you don't choose, as the playable characters. Will be cool. I guess like you could include the main bad guy and the champion from Generation 6 from X and Y, which I don't remember their names, to be the other two costumes. What are their names? I legit don't remember. And then for Generation 7, I think that Celine, the female Pokemon trainer, should be the main one. And then Helu or Helu with Kukui, Hau, Lily, Guzma, and Lusamine to be the other playable characters or playable version of playable costumes for the Pokemon trainer. And then the Pokemon will be talked about in a little bit. So that was the costumes, all the costumes, a bunch of characters that I just talked about. But yeah, and like from 7 characters, I only chose 2 of the male ones to be the main ones, because I think that those are the only 2 ones that actually are popular. And it was like, I've been seeing a lot that people prefer the female designs to the male designs, and I never thought about it like, I mean, I guess in like the last few games, but I don't think it's overall. But then when I was making this list and like saying seeing who could be the main one, like, yeah, the female ones are just the better characters overall. So yeah, that will be it for the Pokemon trainer section. Well, quote unquote, we're done. Now we're going to be talking about each generation one by one, about which Pokemons should be in which category. So Generation 2 already has a Pokemon in, so it has that advantage. It's easier for me. We have to only put the other 4 Pokemon. No, 5. No, wait. Yeah, 5. Wait, Generation 1 has Pikachu, Jigglypuff, Squirtle, Ivysaur, Charizard, 6. Then there's, wait, there are 6 Pokemon. Then it's Lucario, Pichu, Greninja. Yeah, so Pokemon has 10 characters, not 6. But why did I get 9? 6, it's 10. I miscounted. What the shiz? I miscounted by 1, but still. That's even worse. 60% of the Pokemon in Ultimate are Generation 1 Pokemon. Jesus. But anyway, looking at it into the Pokemon spectrum, obviously Pichu would be one of the mascots on it, and the other mascot that I put in was Meryl, which is Peekaboo and kind of fits the whole thing with Jigglypuff, but not exactly with Pikachu. Anyway, the starter ones, this is where it gets difficult, I think, I thought for a lot of the other generations, and it did sometimes, to getting like everything correctly. Generation 6 and 7 benefited from the fact that I already had the final one, and I try not to make everything too similar, and try to I change sometimes even things around just to have everybody else. And I made a mistake on Generation 6, and I'm gonna have to type. No, I didn't, but I don't have to type because I remember the name of the Pokemon. But anyway, I'll do that later. So for Pokemon, I didn't keep, I'm lying. For Generation 1's Pokemon, I went with, the Generation 2 starters would be Chikorita as the first form, Kulava as the second form, and Feraligatr as the third one. I think they fit in well in Smash. I think this would be one that could work. I don't think Meganium or Typhlosion could work well, but I didn't want to be like another fire starter as the final form. And then so it came down to Feraligatr and Meganium, so I went with Feraligatr because Feraligatr, I think, will be a much more interesting fighter. And then between Bayleaf and Quilava, I didn't want to keep the exact same thing from Generation 1 for Generation 2 and not to repeat too many times, so I went with Chikorita and Quilava in the role of the Pokemon that were the first form and the second form. Then finally, ending this process as the legendary Pokemon, it would be for Gen 2, the legendary would be Entei. I first chose Suicune, but then I remembered Entei is the only one from Generation 2 outside, not the only one, I'm lying, but well, technically speaking, yeah, he's the only Generation 2 Pokemon to have a movie about him where he is the fully main character of it, technically speaking, but without any single legendary Pokemon. Because Lugia Pokemon movie 2000, Lugia was the main legendary Pokemon, but it had other 3 legendaries in the legendary birds, and Suicune was a part of the Pokemon Forever movie, which included Celebi, which Celebi was actually the main Pokemon in that one. So Entei has movie 3, which is Entei and the Power of the Unknown. It just fits well here, and I thought between all the legendary Johto Pokemon is the one that really fits better. Then for Generation 3, this is the one that had the most amount of work in, and is the only one I'm like, I could see other Pokemon make it in instead of the first one that I chose for mascots. For mascots I chose Gardevoir and Absol. Gardevoir seems to be a Pokemon that the Pokemon Company loves or likes. They have included Gardevoir in a lot of stuff, be it in anime movies, showing up here and there, having appeared in the Pokken tournament. So I feel like it would fit well. Then Absol, I just like Absol. I'm gonna be completely honest. Absol is a cool Pokemon. I don't like the fact that it didn't appear in Pokken. His Mega Evolution also looks really fucking sweet with the wings. It kind of looks like it has wings. It's also a Pokemon of disaster, so I like it. I'm sorry, I like it. And then for the 3 Pokemon, the Pokemon starters, I went with Torchic, Grovyle, and Swampert. The reason I went with Swampert instead of Blaziken and Sceptile, Pokemon that I've actually mentioned in other videos that could be Pokemon in the game. I even said that's another way to get Blaziken in the game would be as a Captain Falcon Echo if you remove the Falcon Punch. And the reason for it's like they're two. You cannot put one over the other. I guess it's the way that made me choose. You cannot put one over the other, so I just put Swampert there because, hey, Swampert. Because Swampert also works, he's also cool. And then Torchic and Grovyle, it was really a toss-up. And I also didn't want to repeat the same thing as I did previously with Chikorita and Quilava. I didn't want to go with Trico and Combusken because it would literally be the same. And not only that, but Trico and Combusken are much more alike than Torchic and Grovyle are. Because Torchic is a little chicken, while Combusken already looks more like Trico and Grovyle, which are more lizardy. So yeah, that's why I went with it. Then for the legendary mascot I chose Deoxys because he fits. Let's be completely honest, he just fits in as the legendary one, and the psychic one it would be much more like Mewtwo. Then for Generation 4 we already had Lucario in, so that makes my job easier. Then I chose Garchomp as the second one because Garchomp is freaking amazing, and we need more pseudo legendaries in Super Smash Brothers. Yes, that's what I think. Outside of starters and legendaries, there's a whole mingle in between, and the only time we got Pokemon in that mingle, in that middle gray area, were Pichu, Pikachu, Jigglypuff, and Lucario. Everything else is either starter or a legendary that we get. Well, then again, we only got starters and one legendary. But anyway, that's beside the point. For the trio, I went with Piplup, Grottle, and Infernape. Piplup and Grottle kind of go well with the Pokemon we already have in Smash Brothers. Kind of like Squirtle and Ivysaur, but I think it could work dynamically different. Turtwig could have been up instead of it. Turtwig could have been the first one, and so could have Prinplup been the second one. They could have both been in here and swap out the 2 evolutionary forms, but I had to have Infernape at the end. Infernape is one of my favorite Pokemon from Generation 4 and overall, and I would have loved him to have had a spot in Smash Brothers, but he didn't have it, and it's very unlikely they will. And he also is a Pokemon that feels very neglected by the Pokemon Company. Him and the entire team, I don't know, no, in Polion appeared in Pokken. Like, it feels like a Pokemon very looked aside by the Pokemon Company. And Ash in anime did have an Monferno, so maybe they could somehow, in a way, in the future, do it. And then, obviously, for the legendary, I chose Darkrai because it makes sense. He's a perfect choice. He fits, and he had his own movie. That works too. Also, I should have mentioned the things that made me choose a lot of these Pokemon. It's not just the way they're handled in the games, but also how they were handled in the anime. Because like Incineroar gained a lot of his popularity because of the day that not the day, but what we began to get a lot of popularity as it would happen was because the Pokemon Company is the one that kinda sorta also chooses who's gonna be in Smash, and they were pushing Infernape or Incineroar up front. So I should have mentioned that in this, but I forgot. Then for Generation 5, for mascots, I have 2 Dark-type Pokemon. Crocodile, because I just like how the way Crocodile looks, and Zoroark. I've made a video about who was going to be the next Zoroark / Chrom in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Chrom eventually got in. I think Zoroark should get in. I think it would be cool to see Zoroark in the playable character in Smash. It's not happening as DLC for Ultimate because Incineroar. Zoroark is a Pokeball Pokemon. He had a movie of his own, and he basically was the mascot of Generation 5. Then for the starters, I chose Snivy, Pignite, and Samurott, all because these 3 play very differently. I also could have had Superior as the final Pokemon. I didn't want to repeat another. I don't like repeating too many times the same archetype. And I already had 2 water types being. Actually, this is the 3rd water type from the generations. But I really like Samurott. I prefer him over the other 2, and although the other 2 could also fit here, and this is the one generation I kind of could float around. It could be interesting to see how all of them could play out in the final 3 forms. I just like Samurott a lot, so I chose him instead. And for the legendary, this is a toss-up, and I don't really know who to choose really, but I put Keldeo here because he had his own movie while Generation 5 was still going, while Genesect was a Pokemon from generation past it. It was from a generation, it was from it was in the same generation, but the movie was about Generation 6. So yeah. Then for Generation 6, funnily enough, I chose for the mascots Hawlucha and Noivern, because because both of them were part of Ash's team, first things first, and then because Hawlucha just fits very well with Smash Brothers. It could be another wrestler type character, but instead of being Incineroar is very much of a brawler wrestler. Hawlucha could literally be the Lucha Libre Pokemon. It could be like Incineroar could be Hulk Hogan, while Hawlucha could be Rey Mysterio. I chose the 2 most obvious choices from those types. And then Noivern, really cool looking Pokemon, and he also was a part of the anime, kinda. His pre-evolution was, so it makes, I like it. Then for the generation, we already have in this generation 1 Pokemon in the game, which was Greninja, which means Greninja would have to be a part of the Pokemon trainer. So it came down between Chespin and Chestnut, I think that's his name. That's the final form, I don't remember. And then Fennekin and Braixen, and I kind of flip-flop between them, but I chose Chespin and Braixen. I don't know, I guess because they are more different from one another than Fennekin and Chestnut, and also Chestnut kind of feels, I don't know what they could do with that big ball of a Pokemon. But that's never stopped them from before, but I think it'll be more interesting to see it this way. And then for Generation 7, the 2 mascots I chose were Lycanroc, Dawn form, and I think this is a popular one. He's actually the mascot basically of the generation. And he is in the anime, he has a Pokemon from Ash. And then for the second one, it's a toss-up. It could be either or. It's not a toss-up actually. It's not really, is this Pokemon or this other Pokemon. No, it's basically the same Pokemon, but one is the evolution of the other, which would be Type Null or Sylvani. Each one would work. Sylvani will be more, is the final form, but Type Null is something that I've used before. Maybe, even maybe, both could be in, one being the echo of the other. It would be interesting. And then for, because we have Incineroar, which ones would it be that I would choose for the other Pokemon trainer? The first forms, I chose Popplio and Dartrix. There's not really much to say with those two. I prefer Dartrix and I prefer the evolutionary line for Rowlet. So I just literally, it was a coin flip basically. And for the legendary Pokemon here, I chose Tapu Koko, mostly because I could have easily chosen also Solgaleo, because Solgaleo was also a really cool legendary, but I chose Tapu Koko because I didn't want to be like, oh, let's put Solgaleo in here, and then it's like, okay, Solgaleo is in, but where is Lunala? Well, it's better to go with Tapu Koko. I know you could include any of the Tapus, but Tapu Koko feels like the most important one of the three, as in he is the one that the Pokemon Company introduced first. He's the one that actually does stuff in Sun and Moon, and overall I think is the more liked of them all. He's even the only one I think that's in Smash Bros. So yeah. But anyway, tell me in the comment section what do you think, or who would be your selection for each generation, and who did I miss for the Pokemon Trainer costumes, designs, and all that stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm an idiot. For Generation 5, which Pokemon, or Generation 6, which legendary would I put? I put Zygarde full form, although Zygarde full form is 4.5 meter, which is taller than Ridley when he's doing the up taunt. I don't know how they could work him in. I literally look at Generation 6, and Generation 6 doesn't really have a legendary Pokemon, because like, they do, but they kind of don't, and it's like, oh, it could be Hoopa, but then Hoopa is like little tiny one. I don't know, I went with Zygarde because full form, because we already have Frieza in Smash Bros. In the form of Mewtwo. Why not Perfect Cell in the form of perfect or 100% Zygarde? But anyway, tell me in the comment section, who would you put instead of the characters I chose? Who would be your Pokemon trainers of choice, be it main or secondaries? And yeah, hope this becomes a brand new series on the channel. I don't know how many episodes I could crank out of this. I think like I have one more for like the Zelda franchise, but apart from that, I don't really have much. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I've been the Legend of the S. I'll see you guys next time.